first time I came here was 1993, the summer of 1993. I really had no idea what to expect. How phenomenal it would be. But even in my first couple of months here, I realized it clearly. This place was unusual. I decided I wanted to get a good documentary record for myself. And I could easily fit a video camera in my backpack and carry it around with me. So I just started. When I first came, I couldn't follow them very well. Couldn't yet recognize much of anyone. So in 1995, I spent 7 months here. And that was the first time that John Matani came. He came for the summer.
Wherever people have studied chimps in the wild, they're very difficult to habituate to human presence, and it takes 4 or 5 years. It was a long time ago, 22 years ago. It was a challenge. Chasing them over hill, valley, swamp.
And move off and we'd hear them somewhere else.
It was in the second summer. I'll never forget, August of 1996. It was a big group. They came down. I thought, as usual, what they do is run away, as they had been doing for the past year. But one individual, a male we call Hare, instead of bolting from me, just sort of ambled off. I remember constantly thinking, when are you going to run? When are you going to run? But we went, over half a kilometer. I finally realized, God, he's not going to run. They'd been running away for so long. I think I almost started to cry. After all that hard work, finally somebody, permitting me to be with them. I sometimes wonder. And if they too have those same recollections and remembrances of me chasing them in the old days. Over the next few months, one individual after another, permitting us to see things more clearly.
We were becoming aware there really were a lot of chimps here. My best estimate at the time was more than 140 chimps, which was far more than the largest previously known community anywhere.
Most chimps live in groups of about 40 to 50 individuals. It became quite clear that something very strange and unusual was happening here. There were a lot of chimps. Initially, everybody had doubts.
They didn't think that was possible.
Whether the community is as big.
But it's happening at Ngogo.
Our colleagues were telling us, well, if the community is as large as you think it is, then what's going to happen is inevitably is that they got to split. Chimpanzee society is very male-dominated. To understand chimps and chimp life, one has to understand the social relationships, the social behavior of male chimps, because they pretty much run the show. Well, it's quite obvious right from the very beginning that there was a clear alpha male, has a certain way and demeanor.
The sort of swagger.
That alpha male was Maya.
He was pretty clearly the alpha.
The chimps greet alpha males with this distinctive call, the pant grunt. As a formal signal of submission, everybody's going up to greet the big guy.
You're dominant than me, you're tougher than me. I'm saying this to you so you won't beat me up.
Who's on top and who's on the bottom. But the question is, how easy will it be for one male to control all the others? How easy will it be for that one male to control the situation?
Especially in a community like Ngogo where there's so many rivals. This community is so big and there's so many males.
Doesn't seem to be all that easy for a single male. Way male chimpanzees maintain themselves at the top is through building social bonds with others who will then turn around and help prop you up in the system. In fact, one of his primary coalitionary partners in those early days was a Bartok. David and I always thought that right from the get-go, this guy was going to rise to the top.
Bartok was more of a political tactician.
Street savvy and socially smart.
Then here we had Muea, who was older, and Bartok, who was a fair amount younger, who had made himself into Muea's ally.
He was being groomed to inherit the top spot.
But there was yet another individual, Lofty. He was more a bully.
Lofty was in really good physical condition, very aggressive.
He was not, in chimpanzee terms, an astute politician.
He had a very rapid rise in the dominance hierarchy.
Powered his way to the top through sheer brute force as an individual.
So there's a serious rivalry here.
Imagine you come into this as somebody completely blind to the situation. We didn't know where they went and the extent of their territories. Where do they live? Where are the boundaries? You start to see things and you're trying to piece a puzzle together. That all has to be sketched in only after years of observation. We found the Ngogo chimpanzees were using a more or less circular area, about 28 square kilometers. Just so happens, for whatever reason, that we're living here in Ngogo in essentially chimp paradise. There's a ton of food here.
Ngogo has a number of enormous fig trees that can produce huge crops of figs.
They have a remarkable knowledge of, their own territory and where the food is and where it isn't. They also seem to know what's going on in the territories of their neighbors. Why do they hunt? One old idea is that they hunt when they're hungry, when there isn't a lot of fruit around. But as things turn out, it's exactly the opposite.
I vividly remember one time when I decided I'm going to follow a group of some of the males. And they heard red colobus monkeys. The monkey gets out on a small branch, and he's momentarily trying to decide what to do. Another chimpanzee comes from an adjacent tree, jumps onto the other end of the bough, runs at the monkey from behind, grabs him.
I got one.
I was standing maybe 15 feet from them, watching this. 3 male chimpanzees each took an arm or a leg, and they literally started drawing and quartering this monkey. Here's a leg, it's yours.
Meat seemed to play an important role in the formation and maintenance of social bonds.
It's quite selective, and one of the things that Bartok would do is he would selectively share pieces of meat with other individuals, not everybody, one of his buddies, one of his friends.
To divide a big monkey in half, and then he hands half of it to Hare.
Hare would later turn around and help Bartok. Bartok plays the game according to those rules instead of the brute force game. Lofty just never seemed to be able to play the coalitionary game, the meat sharing and grooming game in the same fashion that Bartok did. He wasn't as socially skillful as Bartok.